Everything you repeat is rewriting your brain. Not someday, right now. This thought, this video, even the habits you think mean nothing. They are physically reshaping the organ that makes you who you are. That sounds unbelievable. Because for a long time, scientists believed the adult brain could not really change. Once you grew up, the wiring was supposed to be set. You could lose function. You could damage the system. But rebuild it? Rewire it? Become different? That was not supposed to happen. It was a brutal idea. Because it meant your limits might be permanent. Bad at music? Maybe that was fixed. Bad at math? Fixed. Slow learner? Fixed. Your brain was treated like stone. And adulthood was just living with the shape you got. But reality kept breaking the theory. Some people recovered abilities they were never supposed to recover. Some brains adapted after injury in ways no one could explain. And certain forms of intense practice seemed to leave physical marks inside the brain. Something was off. Something huge. Then came the discovery that changed everything. Neuroplasticity. Neuro means brain. Plasticity means the ability to be shaped. Not plastic like cheap material. Plastic like something alive enough to be remolded. Your brain is not a finished object. It is a living system that rewires itself in response to experience. Which means your brain is not just helping you live your life. Your life is actively building your brain. At the center of this are neurons, brain cells that send signals. Think of them like messengers in a giant electric city. They communicate across tiny gaps called synapses. One cell fires, another receives, and patterns begin to form. Now here is where it gets strange. When certain pathways are used again and again, the brain starts upgrading them. The connection strengthens, the signal travels faster, the route becomes easier to trigger the next time. Like a path through a forest. Walk it once and it barely exists. Walk it every day and it becomes a trail. Then a road. Then something your brain almost cannot ignore. This is one of the biggest ideas in neuroscience. What fires together, wires together. The more certain brain cells activate together, the more strongly they connect. But there is another side to that. What you do not use can weaken. So your brain is not just learning, it is editing, keeping some paths, letting others fade. Now think about musicians. A musician is not just memorizing movements. A musician is changing the brain through repetition. Years of practice are linked to changes in regions involved in hearing, timing, coordination, and fine motor control. That means a violinist is not only learning the violin. In a very real way, the brain is reorganizing around the skill. And this is the part people miss. Practice is not only performance. Practice is construction. Talent matters. But repeated experience can physically expand what the brain becomes efficient at doing. That is not self-help language. That is biology. Then came one of the most famous examples in all of neuroscience: London taxi drivers. To earn a license, many had to memorize a massive mental map of London. Not a few routes, thousands of streets, landmarks, shortcuts. And when scientists studied their brains, they found something fascinating. A region involved in spatial memory, called the hippocampus, appeared different in taxi drivers, especially those with more experience. Think about what that means. The city outside them had helped reshape the map inside them. But the most emotional proof may be this: stroke recovery. A stroke can damage the brain so severely that a person may lose movement, speech, or coordination. For years, that kind of loss was often seen as mostly permanent. Then scientists and clinicians began seeing something they could not ignore. With therapy, repetition, and targeted training, the brain can sometimes reroute function. Not like magic, not completely, and never easily, but enough to change lives. Other regions can begin helping with lost tasks. New pathways can form. Movement can slowly return. Speech can be rebuilt. Imagine a major road collapsing in a city. Traffic stops, everything jams, then slowly, painfully, detours begin to form. That is neuroplasticity, not a miracle, a process, a built-in ability to adapt when the old route is gone. And now the uncomfortable question, if the brain can reorganize after injury, what is it doing during ordinary life? Because every repeated behavior leaves a trace. Every habit is a vote for a certain kind of wiring. Every day you are training something, learn a language, and you strengthen networks for sound, memory, and meaning. Practice an instrument and coordination sharpens, but practice stress every day and you may reinforce fear. Scroll endlessly, and you may train your brain for distraction and constant novelty. Meditate and focus can strengthen. Read deeply, and attention gets exercised. Your life is not neutral. That is the real shock. Your routines are not just what you do, they are what your brain becomes good at doing. That does not mean you can become anything instantly. And it does not mean the brain has no limits. But the central truth remains. The brain changes through use. So maybe learning is bigger than we thought. Maybe learning is not just adding information to a fixed mind. Maybe learning is the physical act of becoming different, one repetition at a time. This is why neuroplasticity feels bigger than science. It reaches into identity. Because if experience can rewire the brain, then the person you become is not only inherited, it is also practiced. Your attention shapes your circuits. Your repetitions shape your reactions. Your environment shapes your possibilities. And that is both terrifying and empowering. Because the same mechanism that traps you in patterns is the one that can help you escape them. The brain that learned can learn again. The brain that adapted badly can adapt better. The brain that feels stuck may not be broken. It may just be rehearsing the same path. So the next time you say, "This is just how I am," stop. Because your brain is listening. It is taking notes from what you repeat, what you avoid, what you practice, what you believe, and it is quietly wiring that into you. You are not just living your life, you are training your brain how to become you. That may be one of the most important discoveries ever made, because the organ that defines who you are is not fixed in place. It is being shaped day by how you live. And that means change is not just possible, it is already happening. Your brain becomes what you repeat.